Hello, only podcast about movies listeners. What you're about to hear is a bonus episode, meaning we're going to talk about a film that you might not even think needs reviewing, and probably get into some off-topic conversations that has really nothing to do with movies. If that's your cup of tea, please stay tuned, and if not, we won't hold it against you if you skip this one. I mean, Shahir will. He'll take it personally. So just take that into here. Just roll the thing. What is up, Internet? This podcast is gonna be huge.
Some of my best friends have called me and they told me it's gonna be huge.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is a bonus episode of the only podcast about movies. This time we are the only podcast about The Art of the Deal, the movie.
Directed by Donald Trump.
Shot by Donald Trump.
Edited by D. Trump.
Yep.
Starring
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, yeah. No, if you're getting a theme here, this is the Donald Trump story.
So in actuality, this is a short film, 50 minutes long, that Funny or Die
It's that
did.
weird, it's kind of short. Like, it's short for a feature film, but it's pretty long.
It's pretty long.
Yeah.
And they did it based loosely on Donald Trump's book, The Art of the Deal.
And I think actually, like, the actual facts that they present in the movie, although satirical, are actually true.
Oh, yes. All the stuff actually happens in this movie. It's just, this is obviously a satire starring the one and only Johnny Depp as Donald Trump.
Johnny Depp from Black Mass, or Pirates of the Caribbean.
I don't know.
Has he ever been bitter?
I mean, yes, but this is really good.
I would go Edward Scissorhands, then Donald Trump is his like two best roles.
No, he does a phenomenal job. Apparently, I was reading a thing about this when they were sort of pitching this idea around, and then Johnny Depp said he was interested. They were just going to have Johnny Depp come in and, like, dress up like Donald Trump, but very much be Johnny Depp. And apparently Johnny Depp's like, no, I'm bringing my whole makeups and effects crew. And they came out, and the director actually said something. Who directed this?
God.
I'll pull it up right now.
Yeah.
It is directed by... Where did you go? Oh, wow. It doesn't even tell you the director on IMDb.
The director is Jeremy Connor, and I'm presuming he's a Funny or Die staff member or, part of the Funny or Die team.
Yeah, he was saying that when Johnny Depp came in and they dressed him up as Trump, obviously beforehand, he comes in all Johnny Deppified, and he's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to direct Johnny Depp. And then when he gets into Trump costume, he just treats him as a big plastic Donald Trump puppet.
The makeup effects are surprisingly good, where I'm like, I can kind of see Johnny Depp, but I definitely see Donald Trump. It's very, very good.
It was very well done. But yeah, so this is a bonus episode about that. Not going to be the normal length we do, but it came out, and I thought it was important to talk about, and we had
It's an election year. Their debates are going on.
Yep, we had a couple other loose ends we'll tie up sort of at the end of this podcast once we're done talking about this. But
who are you going to vote for, Mr. Kroll?
Sanders. I'm going to vote for Bernie Sanders.
You didn't need to tell me that. I was just seeing if you're. Have you met a Trump supporter?
No, but I've run into people that like some things that he says.
That's interesting. I have not met a Trump supporter yet, or anyone who seriously believes things that Trump says. And I'm curious if they're like unicorns, like they're actually real, or.
Well, here's what I'll say. I will say this about our current political.
Have we just turned away half our audience now? By the way,
why? Oh,
because I'm dissing Trump.
No. Look. No matter if, I believe Bernie Sanders is a good dude, and no matter if you believe Donald Trump is a good dude, you can look at their historical records and sort of get the points for yourself. I mean, this movie itself is a farce on all of the things that Donald Trump has done. Obviously, they're not painting him in a good light, but there's still things he did.
Yeah.
I will say this. While the concept of Donald Trump as president is terrifying to me, I hope... This is a big hope.
Yep.
If he does get elected, I feel like what he's doing right now is what he's done his entire career.
Yeah.
Is do anything to get the job done. So he's doing awful, horrible things, ostracizing people and playing off people's fear and hate and whatever to get the job done to become president. And then I'm hoping he would do like he runs a business, hire the best people to fill the best slots in his business. So that's what I'm hoping happens. But the other thing is, here's the other thing too. Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump kind of political outsiders.
Yeah, they seem to. I mean, the media has drawn like a line between the Democratic and the Republican field where they said these are the two people on polar opposites, and it's because Trump funds his own campaign.
Yeah, and
because,
Bernie funds his own campaign.
Yeah, and because Bernie is getting small donations rather than from a super PAC.
And we haven't brought up Hillary, but I don't know. I don't dislike Hillary. I just like Sanders better.
Yeah, I certainly would be pitching my vote for Sanders. But and that's not a political endorsement. Not that anyone cares what I think anyway. But,
no one cares.
But it strikes me as interesting that Donald Trump even has a platform, because I don't like everything that we just watched in this movie. I don't think he believes in anything.
No, he wants to be president to say that he's president.
Yeah, like, why does he want to be president?
I think he wants to prove that he can be president.
But what does that prove?
That you're president.
And it's like...
well, okay, bringing this back to the movie, that's sort of exactly sort of what this movie is about. So if you want to talk about the plot of what this movie is, it's about... Ron Howard finds a tape at a yard sale that was supposed to air in like the 80s.
Yeah.
And on NBC, but it was preempted by the NFL Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
And it was Donald Trump's making of his book, The Art of the Deal, into a movie. And what takes place in this movie is it's his 40th birthday, and he's trying to buy the Taj Mahal in Atlantic City, and they basically tout that as like his rosebud. They even call it out in
his
the movie.
Rosebud. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, like you got Patton Oswalt in this movie.
Yeah, and he plays the guy who owns it beforehand, and blah 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 blah. You have a bunch of great cameos, which we'll get into later. But that's sort of like what this movie is saying. Like, he wants this building not because it's going to be great for him, but because he liked it when he was a kid. So he wants to be president, not because he really gives a shit, but because he just wants to be president.
Well, you have to talk about the timing of the release of this film. Right. Like the film is not even thinly veiled as political satire. Like its main role is to point out the fact that Donald Trump is a shithead.
Well, he's I would say he's smart in some cases, but he's just a bad person.
Yeah, and look, there's one thing that this film doesn't call out that is always like, I'm just always amazed that like whenever Donald Trump is mentioned, they don't mention this fact, is that Donald Trump took out a full page advert during the Central Park 5 trials back in 1985, where five teenagers were accused of raping and killing a woman in Central Park, and he called for the death penalty. And he called for these kids to be, old style justice railed on these kids who are 16 years old, who were all proven to be completely innocent, and who were arrested simply for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And Donald Trump still has never apologized for that, and he's even like gone on the record as being pissed off that the city settled with them when it was proven that they were completely innocent.
Has Donald Trump ever apologized for anything?
No, I don't think he has. But I mean, that to me is a level of douchebaggery that extends beyond hating Mexicans on stage, which is terrible enough as it is, to calling for the outright ban of an entire culture of people based on some event, which is just not like, you could understand the sentiment if you're an idiot, but you cannot, but the impracticality of it.
Well, that, my friend, is the art of the deal.
Yeah, it's just like, just shout. And my problem with Donald Trump, and this is beside the film, is that if Donald Trump wasn't wealthy, he would be a crazy person standing on a corner shouting. That, if he wasn't wealthy, that's what he would be. And yet, because he's wealthy, not only do we give him a megaphone, like I'm kind of sickened at myself for talking about him personally, but we're giving him a megaphone to talk about, and discussing him as though what he says is important, and it's not.
Well, I mean, he definitely gets people's attention, and the fact that he was like on SNL and like all this other stuff, I was like, wow, really? Like, it's basically,
and there's a movie made about him, but I think the movie
South Park actually did a great thing about like how it was like it happened in Canada, and it was a very Donald Trump Canadian-esque type thing. It's like, at first we thought when he was running it was a joke and everyone laughed, but then it became real. Anyway,
you just have to remember, like, was it either 4 or 8 years ago he ran and it was a joke, and like nobody took him seriously, and now we're 8 years again, And here he is, and I'm
thanks, Obama.
Yeah.
No, so let's get back to
the movie
itself. So it's pretty fucking funny.
Oh, it's great. It's the perfect length of satire. This kind of satire sustaining itself. It looks like an old VHS movie. It's cut and assembled like one as well. All wide shots. You can see how it was kind of made really cheaply, but that's the point.
Yeah.
And it has like great cameos from everyone. But then like with every person that appears in the film, these are real people. Like, so for example, Ray Cohn, who is portrayed in the film in the TV series Angels in America, by Al Pacino of all people, was really a lawyer who rallied against homosexuality and then died of AIDS himself.
Yeah,
and it's calling out.
They call him out as the straightest man he knew.
Yeah, the straightest man he knew. Yeah, and it was like they call out the kind of absurdity of the deals that Donald Trump made. On one hand, you kind of go, well, this kind of feels like it's a film that was written by Reddit headlines. Right. On Reddit they have the "Today I Learned" headlines, the TILs, and you can go, and I can imagine every single one of these. Today I learned Donald Trump got a loan of $1 million, when he was starting out, but calls himself an everyday businessman. So it's fun. It is fun to watch.
Yeah, and it's fun to take truthful sort of like actual occurrences, and I think all 6 quote chapters of this movie are all major points in sort of Donald Trump's career, I would say, and then just fucking spinning them on their head to be these hilarious farces.
But it's almost like, when Tina Fey went on Saturday Night Live and played Sarah Palin, like for the first time, and the joke was that she just literally quoted Sarah Palin's speech, and that was the joke. It was the thing she said was so absurd. It's the same thing here. What Donald Trump says is so absurd that we may as well just play it verbatim, and that's the joke.
It's very close. Yeah. So the first sort of chapter, and the whole thing, the other side of this too, it's very sort of 80s in its style, not only it's visually, but the whole thing is a kid steals his book and goes to hide from the cops after the cops are chasing after, being like, hey, give that best-selling book back.
This great book.
Yeah, and then he hides in Donald Trump's office, and then they have Donald Trump is explaining to this kid his whole story.
Yeah.
And the kid's ethnicity keeps changing every time Donald Trump discovers that He's like, he brings out a steak. He's like, oh, you have any salsa? He's like, you want salsa on American steak? He's
What's your name?
What's your name? Jose. Then
let's get another kid in here.
Get the Asian kid in, then he finds out he's Japanese.
It took him a while to get the Japanese. It took him a while to figure out.
Because he thought he was Korean.
Right.
And he's like, you Japanese? Oh, no, he gets him out. Then a black kid's there for 2 seconds. And then they finally get the last kid.
Who's played by
the kid from Room,
Jacob Tremblay,
which is hilarious.
Yeah.
So it's like this whole. It has a lot of 80s tropes. Fucking Spuds McKenzie, or what's his name? The dog.
The dog. Alpha's in this. Which is great. You told me I think it looks like the original animators from Alpha are doing Alf,
which is hilarious.
And the original voice.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I think basically. Look, did you watch this thinking this is a fun film, or did you watch this thinking this is one of the most, not the most, but perhaps a really incisive political commentary? Which way did you kind of?
I mean, it's enjoyable political commentary is what it is. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, if you want to put it together as story structure and as a film, if you want to break this down like you normally do, Shahir, this film does not work at all. It's kind of one note, and
but it
whatever.
Works. I think it works as a short film because that's the short films have that opportunity to play with structure, and this plays with.
But you're right in the beginning. You're it's 50 minutes long, so you're bordering yourself on.
It's sustained by great cameos.
Here's the other thing too. Yes, as a film, it is a short film, but as an internet video, it's a long internet video.
Yeah.
So, I mean, kudos to Funny or Die for putting out a 50-minute thing, and I mean, of course they did it because they had all the cameos.
And I think Funny or Die is the perfect avenue to put out a film like this, and it's amazing that it stars one of the biggest movie stars in the world.
Yeah.
And they can kind of do this, and it's I wonder if anyone else will do. Well, maybe not the Ben Carson story or something like that, but or the Ted Cruz story.
Well, who just did? Was it on SNL that Larry David did the Bernie Sanders?
The Bernie Sanders story, as a short.
Yeah.
But that was great as well. A political commentary, and it's great to see that it's using humor as a voice for political commentary. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
it goes through a lot of big moments in Donald Trump's life. And the first one was chapter 1 was the art of intimidating rent-controlled tenants. And it was about how Donald Trump, I guess back in the day, to get people out of a rent-controlled building because he wanted to demolish it and build something else or something, he tried hiring homeless people to go pee and just run around the inside of the building.
Played by Hainong Mang himself, Jason Mantzoukas.
Yeah, it's so fucking
up to my
funny.
guy.
And that's good. I mean, they go through all of his sort of shit. The art of defeating totally bogus discrimination lawsuits because he wouldn't rent to black people.
Yeah.
The art of suing those losers at the NFL, and that's the one that
I'd never heard of that.
No.
But
if that's true, he's basically because he bought a team in the American Football League, right? The AFL.
Yeah.
And then the AFL was going away because he wanted to like move it to another time. And then he sued the NFL for trying to do something weird. And the courts ruled in his favor, but only gave him $1.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that to me doesn't sound like the most egregious thing that he's done, but it is kind of surprising.
Yeah. The art of buying a casino from the Hilton family was a short chapter.
With my guy. Well, I say my guy, but Stephen Merchant, I could watch for days.
He's great.
I love Stephen Merchant.
The art of marrying a gorgeous immigrant.
With Ivanka.
Ivanka Trump. Oh, no, Ivana. Is it Ivanka?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, fun fact about that. When I was watching it, he has not brought his wife out on this political campaign that
I've seen her, but she doesn't talk much. And
you know how a lot of times, and maybe, hell, I could be spoiled by...
Michelle Obama is the coolest first lady we've ever had.
But I feel like a lot of times, like, they always bring out their wives. They always, like, bring out their thing. Well, then again, Hillary hasn't brought out Bill, but I kind of get that.
No, he's out on the campaign trail.
Right, but like, I never see them standing together.
Oh, no, I've seen it. Yeah, but the thing you're raising is that, like, at some point during the political campaign, and maybe it happens after
later
on, is like which... And it's a
when are they going to play the Donald Trump the family man card? No,
it's the question mark, and it's weird and sexist and strange, but it's like, who would you rather have as the first lady comes into play, and it brings into the question of what role the first lady has, because the first lady is essentially a political entity that has no political,
right?
Affiliations per se.
I mean,
although
it's the spouse of the leader of the country.
Yeah, the spouse of the leader of the country. But what does that mean? I
think there's an office. Like you actually
you get a fund, and you get like an office, and you get like the ability,
which is interesting. You
get to run charities and things like like these things happen. And Hillary Clinton was certainly the first lady for 8 years. So it's because do you watch The Daily Show with Trevor Noah?
On and off.
Yeah, The Daily Show, Trevor Noah's got this running gag, which is that Donald Trump really wants to have sex with his daughter. And he says that in his...
No, he has it in plenty of interviews. He says that. That's fucking nuts.
And Trevor Noah is trying to basically make it like a hashtag. Donald Trump really wants to have sex with his... Remember, let's not forget the time that Donald Trump really wanted to have sex with his daughter. So I'm it's funny because the lamestream media, the leftist mainstream media that we're always talking about is kind of slyly rallying against Trump and it's perhaps because Trump's popularity is baffling to most people, I think. Although
the fact that he's a front runner makes
it makes no sense to us because we live in lefty New York, and we are,
we forget that the majority of the country is not us.
Yeah, and it's weird because I've lived in California and New York, and if you live
never in the middle, Shahir?
Never in the middle, and so those two, if you live in those two places, you get a very different perspective.
It's a very different America.
Yeah, it's a very different America to what Middle America is, and there's been a couple of really good pieces where they've gone to Trump rallies. On Vimeo, there was basically unedited, I think it was 25 minutes of footage of waiting to get into a Trump rally in Las Vegas. And it's really amazing the cross-section of America that you get. Now, it's really... We could sit here smugly and go like, how could anyone support this guy? He's truly an idiot. But I guess the thing about Trump's ascendancy that's kind of that you have to take notice of is that there is a populace of America that does believe the things he says about,
and they see him as the American dream come true.
Yeah. And like, believe the things he says about immigration, believe the things he says about border control. And that to me is terrifying but impossible to dismiss. And if Trump has done anything successfully, and not intentionally, he's shown that there is a side to the American voting population that is, like, maybe someone will call me out on this, but it is not pretty. It's not.
It just seems uneducated. Like, and what, it, again, I don't want to, I feel like I'm shitting on stuff, but like, I think the party system, just in my own head,
two-party
is
system,
fucking stupid regardless.
Yeah,
so you should just vote for people. But it's hard to do that because you can't compartmentalize people. Like, you have
let's
to put
not
them
even
in
get
a
into
group.
the delegates and super delegate
let's
system.
not do that. But how can the Republicans not put up someone who can challenge him?
Yeah,
there's no Republican that has more charisma than Donald Trump. Like, how is that?
I mean, look, your true front runners behind Donald Trump right now are Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, far and away the higher ranking, even won Iowa. But does Ted Cruz have charisma? Well, I don't know. But is that, I guess, the one thing is you could say about Bernie Sanders on the left is that Bernie Sanders is not a particularly charismatic public figure, but
he doesn't releon that. He relies on sort of just speaking truths and what he wants to do.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm remembering, like, the political system, the political left and right in New Zealand, which isn't as far spread as it is in America by any stretch of the imagination. By the way, it's amazing to me that we're doing a 50, we're talking about a 50-minute film and we're really talking about politics, which is what, before we go any further in the political discussion, which is what is great about this particular satire, is it's funny and it gets you into this conversation.
It will get you talking to your friends and family about this sort of thing. Not that the other media won't also as well, but this is, for instance, I mean, let's go back to even the people that like blindly just believe that Trump is a self-made businessman. Maybe they'll see this thing and learn a couple things and be like, oh, like, I didn't know he was giving $1 million.
It might have the Wolf of Wall Street effect, though, which is that, like, people will look at him and go, fuck yeah. He's the guy who
yeah, but Jordan Belfort and this Donald Trump that's portrayed in this movie are he doesn't do anything super cool or fun.
Yeah, the satire might be far too biting. And this what this reminded me, the ending of this particular film kind of reminded me of, in a weird way, was there's an episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air where Will's dad, remember, he's like sent out to a rich family and he's living out there. Then his real dad actually turns up and he promises, and what we realize is, like, his dad is a kind of deadbeat dad who's, like, never shown up to Will's life. And he promises Will that he's going to take him out to, they're going to go on a road trip or something like that. And then like every other time he doesn't turn up, and Will, like, he starts, like, it's a kind of a beautiful monologue where Will kind of starts delivering this, this funny monologue about how he's better than that. And then he just, like, suddenly breaks down and starts crying and says, why doesn't he want me? And it's like silence, and they just start rolling credits and Will is crying. And it's like, it's that weird moment where, like, comedy suddenly turns into like real drama, and it really works.
Right.
And at the end of this film, like, everything's going along swimmingly, and they kind of do it on a more satirical level and a kind of a more comedic level. But Doc Brown, Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future, turns up and says, we've got to stop this. If you blow out those candles, it'll start a chain of events that'll get you elected as president. And it's the moment that the film kind of really, like, starts making its point, which is like, look, we've been having this fun. We're kind of poking fun at this guy, but if we take him too seriously, it's like the South Park joke. We can't. There's a point where what if he actually wins? What will America look like if he actually wins? And I think Back to the Future is the exact right reference because it will be Biff Tanner's alternate timeline where a casino-owning president has ruined the city into the ground.
Let me ask you this. What if Trump gets elected and, like, shit just starts to get better.
That's it. That would be an amazing thing, wouldn't it? Like, and it, like one thing I always think about even with Sanders on the left is that the amount of media hype for the role of the presidency I think it overextends what the president is capable of doing. And
because the truth is Donald Trump can get elected president and start yelling at Congress and the Senate and everything, and nothing will happen.
Nothing will happen. Yeah, he'll just be this. The problem is, as a figurehead, he is like. There was a op-ed, I think, in the New York Times recently where they talked about how this preliminary election, makes us miss the elegance of Barack Obama during his primary elections. Like where debates were really felt like they were about issue, and they were
right. I mean, the debates on both sides of this entire thing have been jokes.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the Democratic primaries, because they've narrowed it down to two people, have seem to be about issues. However, the mudslinging that's going on between, I think, I feel particularly Hillary Clinton is really getting pummeled right now.
Yeah.
And I feel, and I'm worried that like maybe a lot of the pummeling is unearned because there's a lot of innuendo with what's happening to her, like the Goldman Sachs speeches.
Mm-hmm.
There's an innuendo that the fact that she took a lot of money from Goldman Sachs.
I don't think that Hillary Clinton would make a bad president. I think she would make a president that we're very sort of used to seeing even before Obama, and maybe even some of Obama's thing. I think it would just be sort of like, here we go.
Yeah,
do it again. Let's see if it's staying the course. And that's the reason, honestly, why
Sanders is kind of,
or Trump. They're people that are going to, until it's funny. I always think like until say one of them gets elected, and then they're given the secret like binder of all the shit that like we're hiding and like keeping the world safe, and then they're all just going to be like, oh fuck, and then everything's going to be ready to go back to normal.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it overestimates what that person can do in office.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anyway, politics, yay.
I love talking about politics, as you can gather, but it
and maybe one day we'll start a political podcast.
Look, we're the only podcast about movies,
right?
If there's a 538, which is Nate Silver, the statistician's website,
okay,
which does running commentary on the political debates. It's great and it's interesting. I feel like though. Like I'm not a political science major or anything like that. And I'm just an observer of what I read in the newspaper. So I think I have like a very surface level view of the political system.
It'd be great to get someone that we knew what the fuck was going on.
But we can talk about Johnny Depp though in that makeup.
I know, right?
We can talk about like
our political show, by the way, would be called, since you just name dropped a podcast, would be the second podcast about politics.
Yeah. There are some others. Yeah.
But I don't know. Anyway,
what's funny is Deadpool is in theaters right now.
Oh yes,
and I know you love it. And we're going to be having a conversation about Deadpool soon. So no spoilers for what our opinions for Deadpool will be. But I think one of the things is that the length of this film feels appropriate to what the satire can sustain,
right?
Whereas Deadpool, and Deadpool, I think works, but there's a danger with the kind of satire that Deadpool pulls, or this kind of subversiveness, fourth wall breaking that Deadpool pulls, that can be overextended at that length. Like I kind of wish,
depending, absolutely. 100%.
I kind of wonder what Deadpool would look like if it was like 30-minute episodes.
I mean, I'm not gonna. You guys can listen in a couple days of the Deadpool review. I'm not even gonna challenge what you're saying, because I'm just gonna. We'll just talk about.
We'll just talk about that. Yeah, but
yes, you're right. When part of the fun or the joke or the pull of a piece is supported by the piece's length, and if you extend it a certain length, is it gonna fall flat? I think this movie, as it stands now, it's not the joke that would fall flat, because I think I could watch an hour and a half of this, but it would have to be more varied and sort of a bigger budget, because this takes place in like 3 offices, a bar.
Yeah.
It's a fake wedding.
Because it's also like a Saturday Night Live sketch extended, to 50 minutes, which is kind of fun.
Yeah. But any longer, I think its production value would start to show, and it would really fail.
And I think
fail, just get old.
The Johnny Depp performance, if we're going to talk about
let's just talk about that.
About Johnny Depp.
He's really good.
He's really good. Is this the best thing? I haven't seen Black Mass, but
Black Mass is good. This isn't the best thing he's ever done.
No. Best thing he's done recently.
I think it's I think it's the most important thing he's done recently. I don't know if I'd call it the best. Like he
you know what the best? You know what I think the most important thing he's done recently
what?
is he dressed up in his Jack Sparrow outfit and went to a hospital.
He does that all the fucking. He keeps that with him at all times because when he has a day off or something, he'll just go do that.
I like to me, I don't like those Pirates of the Caribbean film, but seeing him do that makes me realize the importance of that character to people and how that can affect good.
I have dressed up like Jack Sparrow on a pirate rafting trip for the better part of the last 9 years. So
and did you save some children's lives? Or made they day better?
Back when I was single, I saved some women's hearts.
Oh, look at you!
No, I have a side.
Robin, side note.
You'll never, and I was always very smart about this. You'll never know the terror. You'll be like on a river with a bunch of parties going on, like people are camping, and girls just want to hook up with you because you're dressed as a fake pirate that Johnny Depp played.
Right.
And I'm thinking every time they try
you get more Johnny Depp-ish when your attractiveness level goes up.
Of course. So what I'm saying is that character in particular and Johnny Depp as an actor in particular,
yeah.
It's insane. Like, oh, so I can just dress up as him and I'm instantly a million times more desirable and cool.
So if I dress as the Mad Hatter from The Wizard of Oz, maybe.
Sure. I mean, at certain conventions, I'm sure that would work out well.
Yeah. I don't think I have the jawline to work a Johnny Depp outfit.
That's a credit. The characterization and things that Johnny Depp's characters have done in the past is just sort of who he is a credit to how special the stuff that he does can be.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And this is one of those things.
I love him in this. And I love little moments in it, like the montage and he's suddenly sitting on the desk.
He always has a different position when they cut back to him. He has one leg on the desk or sitting on the desk.
Yeah. And there's a thing my dad used to do, which is that when he got really angry with me, he would put one foot up on the desk.
Oh, wow.
And it was one of those hilarious dad things where it was like, oh boy, you've just undercut any authority you just had.
Yeah.
And and Johnny Depp does this in the movie and it reminded me of my dad. And I was like, shout out to Dad. But it's just kind of
shout out to Shahir's Johnny Depp playing Donald Trump dad.
Meta.
Yep.
But it's that hilarious thing, which is that you can completely Donald Trump completely undermines his own authority at every turn by saying
Donald Trump.
And it's, is it the hair? Is it the tan? Is it the teeth?
I loved when Alf comes and Alf is the best man at Donald Trump's wedding when he talks about it. And Alf references that Donald Trump stole his hair. And I'd never seen that and that connection until now. And holy fuck.
But also the thing is the Johnny Depp playing Donald Trump in this film sounds like Donald Trump's Twitter account. Have you ever read Donald Trump's Twitter account?
Yes.
It just sounds like that, like you can imagine him typing in this voice, which is not necessarily the same voice he has at the debates or anything like that. Although just the weekend before this podcast coming out, there was another Republican debate and Donald Trump going after Jeb Bush. Oh my God! It sounds exactly like this. It's the rendition is crystal.
It's interesting because just being sensational is enough to get you by.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think I sent out one of my most. I don't do a lot of popular tweets, but one of my most popular tweets, and I feel like that's such a douchey thing to say, but I think pro tip for media outlets: just because a crazy person is shouting doesn't mean you have to hand him a megaphone. And I don't know why Donald Trump gets so much air, but if Trump also has exposed one thing, which is a voting populace that has to be dealt with because it's so large. The second thing is it spotlights the fact that there is no denying that money equals power in political America.
Sure.
And Donald Trump having a platform to speak on when he seemingly has no actual issues that he's passionate about is tantamount to the fact that money equals power.
I don't think Donald Trump is a good man. I do think he's not an idiot, and I do think the character that he's been playing this entire time is just that.
Yeah,
I think, because think about, and now we're getting back into politics and this whole thing again, it's like this got us talking about it. First, he had a problem with Mexicans when immigration was a thing, and he hasn't really talked about that again. And now he had a problem with Islamic people.
Yeah,
And then he hasn't really talked about that again. So he's getting these spikes of like, can't believe Donald Trump said this. And then he's getting the sort of like racist bits of America to be like, yeah. And then they keep like jumping. And it's different bits of hatred that he's like picking. And they're all just sort of following with him.
It sounds like a snowball that's slowly collecting as well.
I don't think he believes any of it. I think he's seen enough of the world. I'm not saying I don't think he's racist. I'm saying I don't think he believes in these things that he's sort of just snowballing and getting people to come on to. He's seen enough of the world and dealt with enough other countries in business and things like that, where he has to at least respect them on a business acumen level.
Yeah.
And the fact that he can it just feels like he's playing his supporters like fiddles. Like it feels like he's really a smart person playing a dumb bigot to me.
Yeah, and
I don't think he's stupid. I don't.
I don't know. See, I mean, possibly. Like one of my greatest fears in life is that if I got onto a debate stage with Donald Trump, I would lose. And I think
you would, but it's because he's louder than you.
And it reminds me of this Charles Bukowski quote, and I just pulled it up. But I always remember this, which is that the problem with the world is that intelligent people are full of doubts while stupid ones are full of confidence.
Ooh.
You know? And I think,
yeah,
you know, like it's in the case of Trump. Yeah, I don't want to look. I don't know the person. I just know, you know, the thing that pisses me off the most is the Central Park 5 case that, you know, and by the way, you can watch, there's a great documentary I think it's by Ken Burns' daughter. It's called the Central Park 5. It will make you so angry. But he who shouts the loudest can often command the microphone. And we've seen that many times in this podcast, you know, between you and me. Some days I am, some days you are.
Sure.
And that's not necessarily an indicator of which is the smarter person. You know, and I always worry that, like, you know, like I'm always baffled by the moderators in these debates. You know,
they're jokes. They're jokes.
Trump will say something and it'll be like, wait, what? You know, like Trump had a whole thing about, you know, like, One thing he casually said in like one of the initial debates was about vaccines causing autism. He was like, and he just said it casually, like, yeah, there's too many vaccines.
Again, get another small subculture of America on his fucking bandwagon.
Yeah, but it's amazing to me that no one, like no moderator actually said anything. You know,
moderators in all of these things are jokes. This is what I don't understand. These people are supposed to be up there pitching themselves to us, right? That's the whole fucking point.
Yeah.
And I love how there's all these like things they have to set up beforehand, like setting up the rules and and then the rules they just don't follow.
Oh, the rules are like the strangest things I've ever heard.
The rules should be you have 30 seconds to do this, and then your mic gets turned off, you dummy. Like, so if you can't get your succinct thing out in a minute, you're fucked.
Yeah.
And I want that from a leader. I want someone to be able to be like, oh, okay, well, I have to make some hard decisions as to what I'm going to say because my time is limited. Yeah. Not like a little ding, and then they just get to fuck steamrolling, and then everyone, like, if they're referenced, well, I get to respond, and like all this, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Just give everyone equal time and equal questions and cut their fucking mics.
I actually 100% agree with what you're saying. Like I do agree that being a leader is about making hard, difficult choices. But then the thing that I do miss a little bit, and it's the opposite of what you're saying, and it's just the difficulty of, like, you know, the world we live in, is that the lack of nuance, you know, like that we're seeing in the Republican debate, and it's because we're restricting people to talk about things in 30-second sound bites. One of the things I love about us doing this podcast is that I often come out of a movie with one fixed idea.
Sure.
You know, and then, but having to sit with you and talk it out, I realize that my ideas don't hold up, or there's nuance to the idea,
or there's differences. Yeah, I see that.
There's differences of opinion, and that's what an actual debate should be,
right?
You know, and when we reduce things to like 30-second sound bites, we lose the nuance of intelligence, like the nuance of saying, you know, like, I'm going to bring back, we're going to carpet bomb ISIS. There's no nuance to that, and there's no truth. There's no truth, and there's no rationality to how that would actually function, and it misses the kind of international delicacy that is required in dealing with that kind of scenario. And I think, the most amazing thing to me was when after 9/11 happened in New Zealand, 9/11 didn't happen in New Zealand.
But after what?
But after 9/11 in New Zealand, I was talking to friends of mine and they were like, yeah, the Americans should just bomb the fuck out of Afghanistan. And the Americans should also bomb the fuck out of Pakistan next. And I was like, that kind of rhetoric misses the nuance of what has happened in those areas and what has led to,
Well, could you imagine sitting, even let's just, I think, I'm guessing.
Yeah, could you imagine Trump in the war room?
No, I want to imagine Trump and Sanders sitting down and not being interrupted and not having a time limit, just talking until they couldn't talk anymore. Yeah,
but the problem there is the thing that we talked about just then, which is that I think Sanders would eventually just shut up because
I don't think he would, man.
Well, I don't know, but
he gets loud.
He does, but all I'm saying is, and he's actually, it's frustrating sometimes because he's really good at staying on message. Like he just always. He listens to what you have to say and then brings back his message, and it's very clear.
And also, I would say I would love to see a debate where, say, they put them in a room for an hour, and they can talk to each other and ask each other questions and give each other answers. But the second any one of them brings up anyone else but themselves, in a thing and how they would do it, they're kicked out, and the other person gets the remaining 45 minutes or something. Like, how amazing would that be?
It sounds like you're pitching a reality show for a presidential candidate.
But who gives the moment I started paying attention, say, to Bernie Sanders was the moment during one of the debates way early, before there should have been debates even happening in 2015.
Yeah.
When everyone kept bringing up Hillary's emails.
Right. And he's
like, guys, what the fuck are you who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. And I was like, oh. And I'm sure that was a politically motivated move and all that.
I'm sure he thought about it. Yeah.
But it's the right one.
Yeah.
So if we can get if we can keep our mudslinging to satirical things, such as Art of the Deal.
The Art of the Deal starring Johnny Depp.
I think that's a much better way of getting up. Although I will say this, one of the Republicans did a huge smear campaign to Hillary. It was so funny because it proved how outdated they thought references were.
Right.
One of them had this whole thing. It's like, in the scene in Office Space where it's good to be a gangster and they're bashing the machine in the back, the three of them. It was Damn It's Good to Be a Clinton, and it was a fake rap song, and it was Hillary Clinton and two guys in suits bashing a computer, and it was kind of a rap about the
email scandal.
I don't remember which Republican released it, but I was watching it. I was like, A, mudslinging, you dummy. B, you're referencing a 15-year-old movie, and you think you're being hip.
It might not cater to the exact audience you're talking to.
You think you're getting the young people with this, but they've never even heard of Office Space.
Just obviously, again, it's great that we are having a political conversation.
We keep getting sidetracked.
No, but it's great that we are. I love that we are. And but to bring it back, not necessarily to the Art of the Deal, but to a reference point that I think I've always thought about when it comes to nuance and detail is The West Wing. Now, The West Wing is the complete lefty dream of America, which is that intelligent people are in a room debating issues to their fullest extent. And it's basically, imagine if you got 5 of the most intelligent, thoughtful people in a room to fully debate everything. And it's, Aaron Sorkin masturbating on stage is what you're getting. But
how many seasons did that run?
It ran for 5 seasons.
He could masturbate for 5 seasons.
And he's good at it, and I'll watch it.
Continue.
But the thing was that I loved about it was that in season 1 of The West Wing, Jed Bartlett, played by Martin Sheen, basically had the right answer for every problem that came at him. He had the most reasoned, well thought out, and correct response to every problem that came at him. But what happened in season 2 of The West Wing was that there were problems that had no right or wrong answer, and it was just about him having to make choices and realizing that if I make this choice, I'm going to fuck these people, and if I make this choice, I'm going to fuck these people. And if cinema is or film and television is any reflection of a political reality,
sure,
I think that the understanding that is the reality of being the president or being I find that's the case when I'm directing now, which is that half the decisions I make aren't it isn't the matter of the right or the wrong decision. It's more the matter of
Making a decision.
Making a decision.
There's a point you made about before where you're like, intelligent people think of all the options and dumb people just shout the loudest or something along those lines.
But you need to be forceful.
But that's what I was going to say. If everyone just debated all of the shit all the time, nothing would get done. So you need some sort of balance, and maybe no political candidate at this time is the right balance. Like, who knows?
Yeah, and what I believe to be important is not what you believe to be important.
Right.
What people in the Midwest believe to be important.
God, and let's even go back. And I will say, even though I'm not a Trump supporter and whatever, but like, any of these guys, Republican or women, men and women, Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever. Oh God, to have the balls to think that you could run the country.
Yeah.
And you'll never make everyone happy. You'll never. It's such a until we figure out a way to have unlimited energy as a planet, we're fucked.
Or just even provide healthcare would be great.
I mean, that's one. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. But like, you know what I mean? Like, until resources are not an issue, we're fucked.
You're commanding a sinking ship.
So you're literally just who has the fastest bucket bailing skill. Yeah.
And there's another a thing I always think about. There's a TV show called The Chair, which was about two directors. It was a reality docudrama where they basically got two directors to direct the same thing. And one of the producers, I think his name is Chris Moore, who also produced Project Greenlight, gets up during an interview and says, look, the tough thing about directing is that when you're directing, every asshole behind you thinks that they could do a better job than you. Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, you're the asshole behind someone else thinking you could do a better job than them. And so, this being the president is like basically the 9 assholes getting up saying, I could do a better job than you. And then realizing when they get to the position, there are 9 more assholes behind you.
And there's no one to blame above you.
There's no one to blame above you. So every decision you make is the wrong decision for at least 50% of the people, if not more.
Well, good luck to all of our presidential candidates in the coming 4 years, then see whatever.
But Johnny Depp, as a career choice, you just made the right deal.
Yeah, he really did. In fact, that's sort of the tail end of this whole thing is the Johnny Depp probably made out the best and lived through the art of the deal. Because this was just a really fun and cool sort of.
I'm glad you got me to watch it to talk about it.
And it came up on my feed and I was like, no fucking way. And I was going to watch it at lunch or something. And then I was like, it's 50 minutes. I'm like, oh, we're talking
That's a movie.
About this. Yeah.
Do you think that's a franchise? Could we Disneyfy and Marvel this thing out and like do one for Ben Carson, Ted Cruz, Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders?
I don't think so.
No one is as big a personality.
No, and that's the thing, and that's why he's got the popularity. And it's that he is a icon. He is a force to be reckoned with for good or evil.
Do you think that the film will have political impact?
Maybe, but I feel like the people that watch I don't know.
Yeah,
I've been out of the Funny or Die audience for a while. Like, I don't know what their demo is anymore. Because before, for me, it was college. It was me in college.
Yeah.
Is it still college kids? If so, I'm guessing a lot of college kids aren't for Trump. So
you're speaking to a crowd of people that are already on your side.
Preaching to the choir.
Oh, that's the phrase I'm looking for.
You're speaking to a bunch of people that already agree with you and the thoughts that you're speaking to them, so they're not too surprised by it.
I like the way you said it, Ben.
But anyway, but no, it's a good primer to get people discussing. I do kind of wish. Excuse me, my voice is all messed up. I do kind of wish sitting at the empty end of the table we had. I mean, maybe a Trump supporter, but like an intelligent one to like help us sort of see through why things are good.
Yeah, we're kind of in an echo chamber.
I know,
right now.
and I apologize for that. I don't want to ostracize anyone who because this is a movie podcast. It's not a political podcast, but this movie that we're reviewing is very politically.
It's amazing to us that like we've probably got more into the issues here with this 50-minute movie than we did with The Big Short. Perhaps, or even Spotlight.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing I'm trying really hard to do, and it's so fucking hard. And I think if everyone tried to do it, it would be good. And I fail 100%. Don't try to win an argument by just yelling, which I do a lot, but
Yeah.
also it's like just keep asking questions.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating. And again, I fail a ton, but like if we had a Trump supporter here or something and showed them this movie, like I wonder what they'd think, and I'd want to ask them questions about like what did this get wrong and what did.
Well, look, this is the perfect avenue to do it. It's going to sound like I'm moving into pitch mode here, but if you have an opinion about this movie, if you have an opinion about Donald Trump, about Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, anyone,
but only movies about them.
But only movies about them. Yeah, no actual political opinions. Please write us in. We love to hear from you. We have people writing into us. We love to read their emails out and to discuss them.
Yeah. So real quick before we get into the last thing, because this is a bonus episode that's almost gone the full hour, and it probably will.
Yeah.
Final thoughts on The Art of the Deal, the movie.
It's very funny. It's laugh out loud funny in places. It's just the right length as well. Perhaps maybe erring on slightly too long, but the political satire is very apt for the time. And it's free.
Yeah,
Fuck,
that's
watch
going to
it.
be my point. My final thought is it's really funny. It's free. You can watch it on any device you own, and it will suck. It'll take 50 minutes of your time, and you'll enjoy your time doing it. So watch it and
then write us in at onlymoviepodcast at gmail.com or on our Twitter at onlymoviepod.
Right.
Or our Facebook. We have an email from Stephen Buja, who Buja. God damn it, Stephen.
And you always call him Steven. It throws me off. Of Same Night Movie Review fame, my partner in crime there.
A few weeks back, if you want to go back and find the episode, Stephen wrote us in, or Steve wrote us in and told us to review Room, which we did, and we were really happy about it because I think we both loved that film. That's maybe one of the last times we've loved a film collectively together.
It sounds so sensual when you say it like that.
Ooh, we've loved a film collectively together.
Yep.
And because Steve gave us homework, I gave him homework, which was to watch a Japanese film called Nobody Knows by, I'm going to butcher his.
Just do it. Make a decision, Shahir. Make a decision, Shahir.
Harazuki Korida?
Hey, maybe if you got it wrong, but you did it in a timely manner.
Japanese listeners, read in and chew me out.
Yeah.
And he wrote back with this.
Hey guys, loved your episode on Room, and I'm glad that you got a chance to catch that. Shahir, I gave you one, so it was only fair that you gave me one. On the episode, you told me to watch the 2004 film Nobody Knows, and I did, and I have to say, again, God damn it, Shahir, that was great, but man, it was heartbreaking. It's a wonderful, very understated movie that seems so effortless, and it's like completely without flash. But besides that, it's like so emotional, so wonderful, so wonderful. The director Kurita, completely unfamiliar with, just feels like a master. It's just so great. He gets incredible performances out of kids. And you're not even supposed to work with kids or animals in this industry. And what I really do love beyond that is that he does something that George Miller did really effectively in Fury Road, in that he described the world and the passage of time through details and not necessarily through titles and things. For instance, instead of a calendar flipping, he showed just nail polish. Chipping off a manicure. The main child, Akira, who I believe did win the best actor at Cannes that year, is just absolutely phenomenal as the 12-year-old who has to take over the head of household duties. I mean, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if my parents weren't around? But it turns out it's not all that great when you're growing up, and you need your parents, and it sucks when they don't need you in the same way. I hated the mom, but I also love the mom. She's so interesting a character. You can't fully hate her. You can't fully love her. I would have preferred, it would have been easy for them to have made just a monster, like a terrible, evil foster mother, or this warm, loving, naive, fairy character. But they didn't, and they made her somewhere in between, and that actually makes it all the worse when she leaves, because she's so great with the kids. Just playing with them and just having fun and being a mom. She's actually a great mom. You just want her to stick around a little bit, which is it's juxtaposed to Ma in the Room, because Ma in the Room, she never stops fighting even after they get out of their small small apartment, their prison. So, Nobody Knows, Shahir. It's a damn fine movie. I thank you for recommending it.
Thank you, Steve. I'm really glad that you enjoyed the film. Look, to anyone who's listening in, write us in a recommendation for a film, and I will try to give you back a recommendation.
I'm going to go one better, or maybe not better, in addition to, we always say write in. If you guys want to write or send us an audio clip of you talking about a movie for a minute or less, please do that. We will play them. We will talk about it. It'll be almost like you're here in the studio, but if we disagree with you, we can hit the pause button.
So again, thank you, Steve, for doing that, and I'm really glad you enjoyed the movie.
And thanks everyone for indulging our little special edition. We kind of did this, and we know this is coming out midweek. It was just something that popped up. We thought it was fun enough to talk about, but not fun enough to just make you have a full week of just this. So Shahir, where can people find you when you're not politically waxing ecstatic?
Oh wow, ecstatically politically waxing.
Yes.
You can find me waxing myself on my website at www.shahirdaud.com.
18 plus.
SHAHIRDAUD. Got a very cool music video coming out in a few months' time, hopefully shorter.
Does it have robots?
There are robots in this video.
Nice. They don't talk like that. You can find me at MatthewKroll.com, Skeletor, the number 4 PREZ on Instagram, or Emperor MSK on Twitter. So this has been the bonus episode with a little bonus thing at the end. The only podcast about The Art of the Deal, the movie.